Let's talk Pitt prospects and their draft stocks here today on this episode of Locked On Pitt, including Calijah Kancey, Israel Abanikanda, Brandon Hill, and a few others. It's all coming today on this episode of Locked On Pitt.
You are Locked On Pitt, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Panthers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Pitt podcast, everybody. As always, I'm your host, Nick Fairbaugh, here on Locked On Pitt podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to start today. All right, everyone. Let's talk about draft stock. I talked pro day and all that and just some numbers, but I want to talk about Calijah Kancey first. This is a guy that has seemingly shot up boards. He's a guy that has plenty of clout there to get significant draft stock, and he's going to go top 40 at the very least. I think he'll go in the first round, though. I do believe that, but I hear a lot of different things. For example, I hear him being compared to Aaron Donald. That's a very lofty comp, and it's always rooted in the fact that Pitt D linemen have that undersized trait to them, and it's about the undersized nature of Kancey and Donald and the fact that they work closely together at Pitt and all of that stuff. That's all why that comparison happens, and they're both athletic freaks, and it started right at the combine when he broke Aaron Donald's record. That's when it started. Well, I want you guys to hear from Calijah first. Donnie Blackwell did a few great sets of interviews. I'm going to play those for you guys throughout this show, and then we're going to talk about kind of where their draft stock is, because I think Calijah really sets kind of a lot of scenes here, including about Aaron Donald.
Okay, I am here with Calijah Kancey, ACC Defensive Player of the Year, and he is finishing up his NFL Pro Day. With clocking the fastest time for defensive tackles at the Combine and running the fastest time since 2006, how did that feel?
I want to say that felt great. I didn't know I did it until I got to my phone after my second run, and I'm honored. I'm blessed, and I want to thank God. Without him, I wouldn't be here.
How do you think that silenced the critics about your size?
I think they kind of had a problem with my size. I came in extra inch taller, and I ran the fastest 40. So that's kind of my game. I'm a fast defensive tackle. I play with a lot of twitch, and that's something that they see in me.
Okay, so how do you think being a defensive leader here at Pitt will translate to any NFL team?
I think it'll translate to any NFL team like easy. I think Pitt do a great job preparing us for the next level here. So I know when I walk into those doors of a new team, whoever come and get me, it'll be the same thing.
Okay. And you had an interview on Good Morning Football, and you received a special message from someone they always compare you to. So how did that feel, knowing that, Aaron Donald is in your corner and that you have someone, supporting you from Pitt?
I think that's great. A lot of guys don't have that. I think that's the privilege I have here from coming to Pitt, playing as the same type of player as Aaron Donald. And I think that's great for him to be vouching for me and pulling for his Pitt brother.
Okay, do you think that made you guys' relationship closer?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, and lastly, how does it feel to know that you are now a part of Pitt's history for defensive line players?
I think I feel great. That's something that Coach Charlie Partridge, he take pride in. Okay. And he wanna develop us to be good football players and also great people, and he did a great job with us.
Okay, thank you so much, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Yeah, Calijah, great interview. Very, very informative. I think the whole Aaron Donald comp stuff is kind of useless in a lot of ways. Here's where Calijah's issue is going to be. We know he's a freak, agility-wise, explosiveness-wise, and speed-wise. There's no doubt about that. He's also very strong. He didn't bench, but he is really strong, and you have that on tape. But his arms are very short. 30 and 5/8 inch arms. I mean, that is historically a killer for interior D-line prospects, but none of those prospects have had his athleticism. Could he be kind of that outlier? So there's some guys. Aaron Donald's one of them that you can compare him to. Now, I don't think that because Aaron Donald has 2 full inches on him lengthwise. Sheldon Rankins is another guy, 3 whole inches. Geno Atkins even has an inch and a half because he's 32. So it's tough. The sub 31 inch arms are a massive issue, and it's why he's not going to be a fit for everyone. He says he thinks he can translate. I think from an athletic standpoint, he could play wherever he wanted. But the biggest issue with Calijah is going to be that length. It's going to be how do you overcome it? And he overcomes it through his athleticism and pad level. That's where he's going to have to overcome it. He's just going to have to be that much better technically than everybody else because he has the special athletic traits that can give him an opportunity to overcome it. When you look at outliers historically throughout NFL history, really when you look at specifically where they kind of flash up at, it's almost always elite athletes. That's kind of where this whole thing often starts. And so we there have not been many guys that have arms as short as Calijah Kancey. You look at just true defensive tackles. If you just look at true interior D linemen, there are very few guys that fit into that mold. We're talking the 5th smallest length measurement. And so here's the list of guys: Carlo Kemp, Colby Whitlock, Tenny Palapoy, Elijah Qualls, Jovan Swan. And even if you go to 30, David Perry, Antoine Woods, O'Brien Goodson, Gerard Hewitt, Carice Tonga, Anthony Zettel, Will Sutton, Jordan Scott, Drake Nevis, Xavier Cooper, Khalil McKenzie, Milton Williams, Josiah Bronson, Keandre Coburn. So you don't know most of those names, I bet, as NFL success stories. There are a few of them in there. Xavier Cooper has had a few nice years. And so Milton Williams is also a guy that's pretty solid, but he's 31 and a half. He's a full inch bigger than Calijah Kancey's. So Kancey has special arm length in terms of it's on the outlier side. And so you got to worry about it. But he is a guy that his athleticism, his football IQ, his appetite for the game, and his production and film speak for itself. And so he's going to be a guy that no matter what happens, he is going to be drafted early because he has unique traits that guys at that spot just aren't going to have. He's got the best pure traits of anyone at the defensive tackle position. He's 6'1", 283 with elite athleticism. I mean, that's the name of the game. When you are looking for 3 techs that can go after the passer and get pass rush chops, that's what the NFL is all about right now. Calijah Kancey, I don't know how high he's going to go. Is a team like the Eagles going to feel like taking him at 10? It's possible. Could he go a little later, maybe 28-ish to the Bengals? Also possible. And then obviously I know some people are thinking, well, what about 17? What about the Steelers? If you're a Steelers fan, if you're an Eagles fan, I think you got to think about that. I know the 2 most common fan bases I find, at least in the Pitt fan base, are Eagles and Steelers. If you were an Eagles fan, boom. That's I think real possible. Steelers, I think less so. I don't think he perfectly kind of fits what they do. I think when they ask him to 2 gap, I think he's a little bit less sturdy in the run game because of his length, and I think it's going to be a little bit of trouble. But I think he's going to be a really, really good player still, and some team's going to get a really good player. I think he'll end up in the top 40-ish, as I said earlier. Well, I want to talk about Israel Abanikanda. Let's talk about what he did for his stock. But first, folks, I want to let you know about FanDuel because, folks, FanDuel has it all. Tournament is heating up, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet of up to $1,000. This is a $1,000 back up in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line, the point spreads, to which team will be cutting down the net in Houston. It's all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use, so folks don't miss your shot at a no sweat first bet of up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/locked on to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. All right, everybody. Let's talk Izzy, because you want to talk about freaks. He's A1. He's the A1 of freaks. We talked about his numbers. So what about Izzy makes him unique, and where's he going to fit in? First of all, this is a classic 49ers Dolphins type pick. Kyle Shanahan should be salivating right now looking at Israel Abanikanda. You look at guys like Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert and all these guys, now Christian McCaffrey is joining that pack, of course, that fit into what Kyle Shanahan does in that scheme. This dude is it. I mean, he's every bit of it. The long speed, the explosiveness on a one-cut basis. Izzy Abanikanda is like the souped-up version of a Kyle Shanahan running back, and that's what you want him to be. He's going to be a guy that goes in the third round at the latest, I think. I think he's going day 2. I thought he might have a chance to slip into day 3 before this, but not anymore. I think Izzy showcased everything that made him great. I just think people overlooked the native tape that he put out. I mean, it was special stuff that was out there, and so I look at him and say, yeah, like give me Izzy. Whether he goes, I saw the Bengals potentially being interested in him, the Cardinals, the Rams. Like there are so many teams in that wide zone mold that makes so much sense. The Browns, like. He's got so many options, I feel like, to land wherever he could potentially go. He just feels like a guy that is very diverse in the team options he has, because he is such a explosive athlete with one cut ability and that long speed. So he has all of that. He's a special athlete. And so you're not going to find guys like that. Not even in this class. It's a decent running back class, but Izzy is a sleeper and a guy that is going to be, I think, really productive early on. And he's going to prove a lot of people wrong if they draft him late. But here's Izzy talking with Donnie. Here's his interview with her.
I'm here right now with running back Israel Abanikanda, and he just finished his NFL Pro Day. You broke Tony Dorsett's record with the most rushing yards in a single game. You had a total of 320 yards, and you rushed for 1 touchdown for 80 yards. Can you take us back through that moment?
It was a wonderful moment, after the third touchdown. I was kind of tired, my teammates, they kind of motivated me, just saying, keep going, you got a record to break. So, after that, it just like, everyone was like going back and forth with Virginia Tech. Mm-hmm. So I was like, if I break this record, I got to win. Like, it won't feel the same if you don't win. So I just kept trying to score to get the most out of it. I ended up breaking a huge record, so I was really blessed for that.
Okay, so do you think you breaking that record was a turning point for you in your collegiate career? Like, was that breaking that record like a solid decision that you were gonna declare for this year's draft?
Yeah, that and just a lot of people in my ears, family telling me, I think it's about that time, family wanting to leave the hood and all that. So, it was about that time to make some money for my family. So I just started real hard on it and prayed on it. I was like, yeah, it's about that time.
Okay, and being that you didn't run the 40-yard dash at the combine for unknown reasons, how do you feel about your 40 today?
Oh, yeah, I feel like I was rolling.
Yeah.
I did what I had to do, made some money for sure.
Okay. And lastly, how do you see yourself growing as a player under any NFL head coach?
Just me being the man who I am, same little boy from Brooklyn, New York, working hard, work ethic, and, just learning under the coaches and continue getting better as a man on and off the field.
Okay. Thank you so much, Izzy. It was nice talking to you, and I wish you the best.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and listen, man, Izzy, good player, has that build. He bulked up and still tested like a freak. Day 2 talent right there. That's a day 2 running back that is going to play really well at the NFL level. And people might be surprised by it, and they're going to be like, oh, wait a second. And then they are going to realize it was all there on the tape. I never understood why Izzy did not have more hype just right out of the gate, man. He had it all right away. To me, this was a guy that just had it all. He should have had the hype from the very beginning, period. And that's one thing I will continue to say about Izzy Abanikanda. All right, let's talk about Brandon Hill. I think this is interesting. Brandon Hill is a guy that, to me, brings out a lot of good things in his tape. A playmaker, a guy that is really athletic. Again, that's commonality with Pitt guys, seemingly, is they're very athletic, and Brandon Hill is that. You look at Brandon Hill's game, right, and he is a true dynamite player. And what I mean by that is he'll give you an ingestion of energy. He's a physical player, and he'll set that tone too by playing strong safety. He's got excellent range. He's got good ball skills. He's got football IQ, and he's a really good run defender that can come down and bang down low. He'll come at you and just take you on. He has no fear on the football field. I love football players that play with no fear. That is something I am always going to be a guy that really likes. I like that. Now, he doesn't have a ton of consistency. Sometimes he can get caught looking in the backfield a little bit. But he is a guy that has to really emphasize the technical parts, just emphasize the simple things. And so I look at it and say, all right, he has all of the instincts, the athleticism, the physicality to be a potential guy that can be a playmaker and starter in this league. I think he's going to be a fourth, fifth rounder that outplays his draft position. A lot of these Pitt DBs just outplay the draft position because they do prepare them well for the NFL, man. They put them in zero coverage and kind of let them fend for themselves. It's really, really crazy to see what you can do when you just put them in a position where you're like, well, I guess we're gonna just let you go by yourself, and then they go to the NFL, and it's much easier because they're gonna have help defenders. So it's much easier, and it's a much easier adjustment for him. So Brandon Hill to me is kind of the prime example of a guy that has that athletic traits that can really step up and play better. He'll be a good special teamer regardless. He has that tempo, that temperament. Like, if you're looking to me at a guy, if you're looking at me at a guy that you would say, oh, who's going to stay with us? Who could the Steelers draft out of the Pitt guys? I think Brandon Hill's a really interesting option. I think he's a guy actually that makes a lot of sense. Regardless, Donnie's here with Brandon. We'll talk to him now.
You ready? Oh, okay. Hi, I'm here today with safety Brandon Hill. How would you rate your performance today?
All-around performance, about 9 out of 10. The ball I could have held on to up there in the position drills, but I feel like it was a good day. Stuck to my training, just stuck to what I knew, so I'm pleased.
So how do you feel like compared to your pro day against like your NFL combine? Do you feel a difference?
I do feel a difference because there's some drills that I didn't do at the combine and some that I did here. So everything that I didn't do at the combine, I did here. So I'm glad I've been able to get the numbers out and just show my athleticism.
Okay, so you and your teammate Calijah Kancey actually clocked the fastest times at the combine in your groups. How did you feel knowing that you and your teammate did that, and how do you think that represented this program?
I felt great. Like you said, me and Calijah had the fastest times at our position groups, and it just shows that it has some dogs, it has some athletes, it has some guys that's willing to take the extra step. And so a lot of schools should be aware of Pitt going on to like further in our season, further in our career. So I can also thank Pitt for blessing me with opportunity and also blessing me and Calijah for the chance to showcase our talent.
Okay, and over your time playing here and at the combine in a media conference, you mentioned your partner in crime, MJ Devonshire.
Definitely.
How do you think that relationship between you two helped you become a better player?
It helped a lot because obviously he came from Kentucky, so he was kind of new to that little 2019 class squad. So just being with him, because we actually played on both sides of the same side of the field on defense. So just having that connection, having that just awareness that he got my back out there and I got his. So just growing close with him on and off the field, it's been a blessing to play with him. And he's the next DB coming out of Pittsburgh for sure.
Okay, and lastly, do you have any last words for your former teammates that you'll be leaving behind?
Just keep going. You guys know the standard. You know how things are supposed to be done. So just keep y'all foot on these boys' neck and just keep going. H2P, head of Pitt.
Okay, thank you so much.
You.
It was good talking to you. I wish you the best of luck.
Likewise.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
And so Brandon Hill, man, really fun football player to me that has a lot of upside. I'm telling you, a lot of upside for Brandon Hill. Now, as for other guys, Carter Warren didn't play a lot this year, but he's got the length and the pedigree. He'll be drafted 4th, 5th round. Expect him to hear his name called. He's going to be a better tackle than you think. Haba Baldonado, again, injured, didn't have a great year, but had good testing. I think he's a guy that lands somewhere on day 3. I think Desmond Alexander has an opportunity to sneak in there. I still think the sleeper of the class is Marcus Minor. I just think his tape is rock solid. I really do. Jared Wayne, I think that's an interesting discussion to have. I thought he tested really well, and I think he's just such a smooth player. I think you look at him as a highly productive wideout in the system that they played this year. His yak ability has really improved. He's a guy that can play slot or outside. He's a really modern type player. He could be a guy that really shows out and improves as well. But that's some draft stuff. We'll talk closer to the NFL draft too about these guys, but that's some preliminary stuff here for all of these guys. All right, everybody. As always, thank you for listening to the Locked On Pitt podcast. I'm your host, Nick Faribault. As we end it here, as always, hail